What's the time?
Playtime!
What really led Playtime Co. to its downfall? Was it just poor business management? Or something far worse? Something they could no longer control? This video will break down exactly what caused Playtime Co. to collapse into ruin. To uncover the truth, we must go back in time to the origins of the factory and the horrors that took place within its walls. So let's begin. The birth of a dream that became a nightmare. The story starts in the 1930s when an ambitious man, Elliot Ludwig, founded a company dedicated to creating toys. With unwavering determination, his goal was to design products that not only entertained children, but also formed a special bond with them. What no one could have predicted was that over time, that bond would take on a far more terrifying meaning. As the company grew, so did Ludwig's obsession. He became distant from his wife, Molly Ludwig, until their marriage ultimately fell apart. But instead of stopping, Elliot channeled all his pain and frustration into the factory, pushing his employees to develop increasingly advanced and lifelike toys. Then came 1950, when Playtime Co. launched its most envisioned creation yet. Poppy, the first doll capable of talking, interacting, and responding like a real human.
She is the first doll actually able to have a conversation with a child.
Its commercial featured the adorable doll saying,
I'm a real girl, just like you.
What no one questioned at that time was how she was able to do that. But this success was only the beginning of something much bigger. The company also opened its factory doors to the public, offering tours for an outrageous price of $2.99 per person. Not only did this generate additional revenue, but it also strengthened Playtime Co.'s image as an open and transparent company. Though, to be fair, they never actually disclosed what really happened behind those walls. Following Poppy's success, Playtime Co. quickly expanded its toy lineup, releasing iconic figures like Huggy Wuggy, Brawn, and BoogieBot. But behind the scenes, the company was already exploring boundaries no toy manufacturer should ever cross. One of the first experiments was the Make-A-Friend machine, introduced in the 1960s. Officially, it allowed visitors to build their own toys and take them home. But something terrifying began to happen. Employees started reporting strange behavior from the assembled toys. Some appeared to move when no one was looking, while others made noises that were not part of their programming. Then the worst began. Workers started vanishing. Rumors spread that certain areas of the factory were strictly off limits, places no one was ever supposed to enter. What was happening inside? No one knew for sure, or at least, no one lived to tell the tale. A tragedy that changed everything. But the real tragedy struck in the 1960s, when Elliot Ludwig suffered a devastating loss. All evidence suggests that it was the death of his daughter, an event that marked a turning point in Playtime Co.'s history. Yet, despite this, Ludwig didn't stop. In fact, in 1961, Playtime Co. introduced Brawn, a toy inspired by the mighty Brontosaurus, quickly becoming one of the company's first and most beloved mascots. With its friendly design and massive size, Brawn became a childhood icon for thousands of kids. However, not all toys shared the same fate. 5 years later, in 1966, Playtime Co. launched a new product, Boxy Boo, a colorful music box with a hidden surprise. Unlike its predecessors, the toy failed to make an impact. Something about its design, its mechanism, or maybe just the unnatural way its springs moved, made kids uneasy. Then, in 1976, Playtime Co. finally crossed the line between innovation and pure horror. The company announced an orphan adoption program, supposedly to provide care and protection for children in need. Deep in the factory, an underground daycare was built, hidden from the public eye. Officially, it was a space where children could play and grow up surrounded by toys. But those working at the factory knew the truth. The children weren't there to play. As the 1970s came to an end, Playtime Co. continued its pursuit for dominance in the toy industry. In 1979, they released Candy Cat, a cute figure designed to match the trends of the era. However, its impact paled in comparison to what was about to come: the rise of a monster. In 1984, the company made its biggest breakthrough yet, with the release of Huggy Wuggy, a massive blue plush toy with a disturbingly wide smile. This toy wasn't just a commercial success, it was an unstoppable phenomenon. A year later, in 1985, Playtime Co. capitalized in Huggy's popularity by introducing his female counterpart, Kissy Missy. What no one realized at the time was that this marked the beginning of the end. Despite the success of the 1980s, the corporation would soon face a series of inevitable and terrifying consequences in the following decade. But before we dive into Playtime Co.'s downfall, we need to understand two crucial details that set the stage for what was to come: the final experiments. First, Elliot Ludwig, the man behind the company, had already passed away by this point, like due to old age. However, some claim his final years were consumed by an ever-growing obsession with his experiments. Leadership of Playtime Co. then fell into the hands of Leith Pierre, the head of innovation, a man known for his arrogance and his complete disregard for employees, whom he saw as disposable tools. And second, before his death, Elliot had become increasingly reclusive and erratic, haunted by the personal tragedy that followed him for decades. He immersed himself in disturbing research, obsessed with the idea of altering life itself. Much of his time was spent studying a combination of poppy flower extract and a preservation gel, convinced that it held potential beyond anyone's imagination. These studies were documented in a report titled Experiment 814, detailing how Ludwig fed a rat for 2 weeks before euthanizing it and submerging it into the mixture. A week later, he attempted to revive it with an electric shock, but there was no response. However, the most chilling part of the report wasn't the experiment itself, but the conclusion. Elliot Ludwig wrote with absolute certainty that poppy flowers had the potential to alter life, and he ended with a single sentence that would dictate Playtime Co.'s fate in the years to come. Perhaps something larger than a rat would yield different results. And so, Experiment 1006, known as the prototype, was born. This entity not only exceeded all expectations, but also revealed something far more horrifying. It didn't need sustenance to survive. Even worse, its negligence developed unpredictably, and it quickly displayed an undying hatred for the company that created it. It didn't want to serve them. It didn't want to obey. It wanted Playtime Co. to fall. The collapse of Playtime Co. By the late 80s and early 90s, the company was beginning to crumble under the weight of its own secrets. Financial problems piled up, operations spiraled into chaos, and Playtime Co.'s reputation was hanging by a thread. Amidst the crisis, a man emerged with the cold, calculating mind. Harley Sawyer, a neurosurgeon and head of special projects, better known simply as the Doctor. Sawyer was brilliant, but ruthless. His obsession with innovation led him to propose a solution that would change the fate of the company forever. A solution that would ensure Playtime Co.'s immortality at any cost.
My name is Harley Sawyer. I'm called the Doctor. When I look at this company we've built, I do not feel proud. Declining profits, failed experiments, people are constantly seeing things they shouldn't. How is that anything less than complete failure on our part? It's pathetic. Now we're understaffed, safety protocols are being abandoned, workplace incidents are common. We can't avoid a lawsuit forever. We need to deal with all of these issues at once. I'm here now with a solution. The Bigger Bodies Initiative. Giant toys. we can increase our workforce and simultaneously decrease the number of lawsuits and people on our payroll if the people we have working aren't people. Put me in charge of it, and I will save this company.
To try to reverse the crisis that struck Playtime Co., upper management approved an even more ambitious and disturbing initiative, the creation of larger bodies. This new phase began with the construction of the Game Station, a complex designed to evaluate children in the daycare and exploit the flexibility of their minds. The goal was to turn them into obedient workers, completely submissive to the company's will. Each child was assigned with a toy adapted to their personality and was required to complete 3 minigames that assess aspects such as speed and mental efficiency, reaction time, physical endurance, and strength. Meanwhile, scientists silently observed from nearby monitoring rooms, carefully recording every detail of their performance. The results were sent directly to Stella Graver, the daycare director. If a child demonstrated satisfactory performance, they were returned to their assigned area, only to be subjected to the red smoke at night. These gases' main function was to induce sleep before they were taken to the lab. There, they were finally transformed into the toy assigned to them. The birth of a new species. Successful experiments led to beings of various sizes with never-before-seen traits. However, they all had one thing in common. To survive, they needed flesh. The first of these new beings was Experiment 1160, known as Boxy Boo, a beast with a lethal combination of brute strength and cunning, capable of launching fast attacks and hiding within its own body to stalk its prey. Gifted with the patience and negligence of a hunter, it was given a chilling task to eliminate low-level employees who had knowledge of the experiments or the secret initiative. Another successful specimen was Experiment 1170, Huggy Wuggy, a tall, slender figure with blue fur and a permanent smile. Assigned to factory security, its behavior was extremely aggressive if it felt threatened. However, unlike the other experiments, it was the most obedient of all. But one of the most documented cases was Experiment 1188, also known as catnap. Created to care for children in the daycare, particularly in the area known as Home Sweet Home. Had the unsettling ability to release a red smoke designed to induce sleep in children, but also caused intense nightmares and hallucinations. Catnap's origin and its connection to terror. Originally, Catnap was inspired by a plush toy from the Smiling Critters line, known for including a distinctive scent in each of its products. In Catnap's case, its fragrance was supposed to be lavender to help children relax. But due to a production error, the scent was replaced with the red smoke. The result was disastrous. The plush caused violent nightmares in American children. Concerned parents began filing multiple complaints. The controversy grew until Catnap was pulled from the market and erased from all promotional material. Before his transformation into Catnap, Experiment 1188 was a boy named Theodore Grumble. Theodore stood out in the daycare for having an imaginary friend who encouraged them to cause trouble for the staff. Records suggest that this figure might have been connected to Experiment 1006, also known as the prototype. Document 08502 details a failed escape attempt by Experiment 1006, suggesting that at some point it managed to break free.
Log code 08502. In relation, Experiment 1006, the prototype. A close call occurred this week in which he nearly breached containment. The prototype seemingly disassembled the digital alarm clock within his room and utilized the battery, along with several other components, to create a laser pointer, which he then fired into the security camera, disabling it. These actions allowed him 28.3 seconds completely unmonitored. Once function returned to the camera, the room appeared to be empty. One surveillance specialist went in to confirm his absence. However, upon opening the door, she realized that the prototype had hidden in one of the camera's blind spots. The prototype attempted to escape through the open door. However, another surveillance specialist was able to remotely relock the door, despite the other specialists still being inside. One casualty occurred.
What happened next would change Playtime Co. forever. At some unspecified moment, the prototype managed to briefly escape and hide somewhere. Subtly and cautiously, it encouraged the boy to sabotage the company. Though Theodore's efforts weren't particularly effective, his friendship with the entity became increasingly noticeable to the staff. Then, one day, Theodore received instructions from 1006 to open a maintenance door in the daycare. To accomplish this, he used 2 stolen work units and 2 green operation modules, potentially intending to help orphans escape or facilitate his own. However, due to his young age and inexperience, he ended up electrocuting himself, leaving him on the brink of death. Half an hour after the incident was reported, Joel Sinclair, a daycare counselor, and Thomas Clark, the pediatrician, discussed what had happened in a call. They concluded that the boy's imaginary friend was the main culprit, as the maintenance door required 2 people to operate it. During this conversation, Thomas added that he was certain he had seen this imaginary friend leaving the dying child at his office door. After the accident, the boy's attitude did not improve, which ultimately led to his transformation into Catnap. The child's connection to the prototype remained even after his conversion. This is confirmed in the interdepartmental report, which explicitly states the relationship between the 2 experiments and how dangerous it could be in the future. Another identified experiment is 1222, known as Mommy Longlegs, a tall, slender creature resembling a 4-legged pink spider. Mommy Longlegs was created from an orphan named Mary P., who suffered a violent nightmare after being exposed to the red smoke. This experience led her to imagine a colorful monster, resulting in extreme paranoia that left severe psychological scars. After her transformation into Mommy Longlegs, she developed an extremely hostile attitude toward scientists, but showed a warm, maternal side toward other experiments, becoming a sort of protector for them. This duality intrigued the research team, who, hoping to harness her maternal instincts, transferred her to the game station, believing she would be the ideal host to guide and calm children during activities. However, despite conditioning efforts, Mommy continued to display hostility towards staff. This led Stella Gray to record messages over the intercom to inform children about upcoming games, minimizing the team's exposure to potential incidents. Meanwhile, Mommy became so popular among the children that the company decided to capitalize on her image by creating a toy based on her. This product was officially released on February 2nd, 1991, featuring exclusive stretchable plastic that allowed it to be easily extended to great lengths. While these 4 experiments are the most notable, it is also crucial to highlight others who played roles both in the game station and other operations. Additionally, not all experiments used children as hosts. There were particularly unusual cases, such as experiment 1199. This transformation did not involve a child host. Instead, it was the result of an employee's will, specifically Thomas Clark, the very same man who witnessed what happened to Theodore Grumble.
Test subject is 59-year-old Thomas Clark, a full-time employee at Playtime Co. since 1955. 6 months ago, he was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. Now, Mr. Clark, of sound mind, has volunteered for this experiment.
We have eye movement. Can you hear us, Thomas?
1199 displayed much more disorientation than we expected. Subsequent mental testing metrics were also cut practically in half. It's just conjecture on my part, but I don't believe he knows where he is or what's happened to him. To make matters worse, the other experiments could tell 1199 was different.
The security tape captures something, a massive figure roaming the area, but the footage is blurry, incomplete, unable to reveal exactly what kind of creature was lurking there. The only clear detail is its size, 50 feet long with 4 legs, a monstrous silhouette that could only belong to Mommy Longlegs. However, there's a baffling detail. It didn't attack. It didn't chase anyone. The only action recorded on the tape was stealing a mop handle. Why? What would a creature of its magnitude need with something so insignificant? The answer remains a mystery.
So, Marcus, what happened?
You see, I was heading home for the day when my ape-arse realised that I left me bloody wallet in the cafeteria. So I'm running through the lobby, and that's when I see it. A mop handle lodged under the innovation wing gate.
So what'd you do, Marcus?
Well, I just thought I'd nab the bloody yoke and be on me merry way.
And?
Well, I'm reaching for the thing, and the mop handle jolts on its own. Had me scared stiff. I thought I was the only one there. So I took a peek beneath the gate, and some massive bloody thing was doddering about the bloody hallway.
Thing? You're sure it wasn't a person?
Ain't no person that's 50 feet long with 1,000 legs.
Marcus, you're losing me. Maybe you just saw a bunch of people walking by.
Look, it wasn't people, alright? I haven't a bloody notion what it was, but it wasn't human.
Who have you told about this? Besides me, obviously.
Just you, sir. Obviously.
Okay, I'll have security skim the cameras and take a look.
What? There's a massive bloody monster! Skimming ain't gonna get rid of it!
You're out of line, Marcus. We make toys, not monsters. Now come on, get out of my sight. Actually, grab me a coffee, will you?
Rowan Stoll's case was different, but just as unsettling. A brilliant man, an expert in technology, but with a tense and complicated relationship with his mother. Even so, he managed to climb the ranks within the company, eventually becoming the head of the IT department at Playtime Co. Then came March 30, 1991. Rowan made a dangerous decision. He tried to get the attention of Leith Pierre, the head of the enigmatic division within the company that seemed to operate under its own rules. He did this through a recording in which he left a chilling suggestion. The eyes of the massive Huggy Wuggy figure that adorned the factory's main lobby could be hiding cameras.
Hello, Mr. Pierre. Look, I know you don't want to hear any more about this. I get it. Sounds like a bad joke, Huggy Wuggy staring at children. But, look, I'm filming this so I can hopefully prove what I saw. Look, if some creep is hiding nanny cams in our mascot's eyeballs, then it's something that needs to be taken seriously. You know, something dangerous is going on, and I'm sure it wasn't on purpose. I'm sure it was just some big mistake, but I saw what I saw, and I'm positive about that, and I know if you could see it too, I think you'll understand.
If he was right, then every corner of the factory, every conversation, every moment within those walls could be monitored without anyone knowing. But the most disturbing part wasn't the discovery itself. It was the fact that, shortly after making that recording, Rowan disappeared without a trace. In the second tape, he reaffirmed what he already said.
Mr. Pierre, I just want to apologize. I was wrong. Nothing weird is going on here at all. See, I talked to the maintenance guy, and he admitted that he had not done his due diligence maintaining Huggy, so his eyes probably just, you know, popped out of place. That must be what I saw. So I'm done. I'm not looking into it anymore. And I mean, not that there was anything to look into in the first place, but that's in the past. You won't be hearing anything else from me. So, sorry.
And his final recording was made on July 15th, 1991. In it, Rowan appeared deeply worried about his situation.
I'm scared, and I don't know what to do. I think I'm gonna die. I had to pretend I'd seen nothing so the company would leave me alone. They took away my pension. They've been writing me up left and right 4 days ago, somebody tampered with my car. One of the tires flew off on the interstate. I nearly died. For whoever's watching this, my name is Rowan Stoll. I work for Playtime Co. It's a massive toy company. They made Huggy Wuggy. They've been using all the money they've made to experiment on people. I have proof of it all. Next week, I've scheduled the company's, the servers, the security, to be shut down for 60 minutes of maintenance. While security is out, I'm going to release everything and run. I think they're going to kill me first. They have something that eats people alive. I don't want to die. I thought Mr. Pierre was just confused, but he's someone else entirely. I could have saved lives. I had access to everything. It's like they knew I would never question them. That's probably why they hired me in the first place. I'm an idiot. Listen, if I die, I've hidden everything I found on this tape. If you find this, take it to the police. Do not let them get away with this. Goodbye.
After recording his message, Rowan knew he didn't have much time left. He immediately wrote a letter to his mother. His words were desperate. Something terrible had happened, and he might never see her again. He begged her not to look for him, nor to go near the factory under any circumstances. For her safety, he left precise instructions, accessed his computer, and turned the information over to the police. Then he sent the letter and put his plan into motion. He entered the factory through an unknown access point, slipping through the darkness, burdened by a truth that was never come to light. But he wasn't alone. At some point along the way, something found him. Boxy Boo. And in that very instant, everything ended for Rowan. But his death wasn't an accident. It wasn't a coincidence. Among Rowan's recovered recordings, an eerie file was found. An audio log that apparently he managed to capture in his final moments. The message contained a voice, distorted, cold, a command hidden between interference and static.
Dr. Sawyer.
I wish to see him.
Of course, he's just...
And here you are. They said it was impossible, yet you defied all odds. The first of many, naturally. You have proven my bigger body's initiative a success. Many doors have opened today, thanks to you. Now, we need to start tailoring that appetite of yours to flesh. Where to start? Get me an update on the situation, Goldstone. What is that?
After that day, Rowan ceased to exist, but the factory was about to face an even bigger crisis. During this decade, Sawyer, obsessed with prolonging his life and the success of his experiments, designed a project to transfer his consciousness into an advanced computer in case of an emergency. June 18, 1992. The corporation had tried to contain its own mistakes, tried to patch the cracks, but the solutions were never sustainable. Something far greater was at play. And that night, the unthinkable happened. One of the company's most dangerous experiments, Huggy Wuggy, escaped from the factory. It's said that he didn't act alone, that something or someone influenced him. And of course, it was the prototype. Huggy took advantage of a momentary lapse. A delivery door left slightly open. 2 employees witnessed it. They saw his silhouette move in the darkness. In an instant, the alarms were triggered and the entire factory went into high alert. But it was too late. Huggy Wuggy was already outside. Luckily, by sheer chance, they managed to capture him. In 1993, the company released Buggy Bud, a green robot with a speaker on its chest, designed to dance to the rhythm of the music. It became a commercial success, but behind its success, the chaos was growing increasingly uncontrollable. The experiments were spiraling out of control, incidents were multiplying, and in a desperate attempt to prevent an uprising, the company implemented a contingency plan. A new piece was introduced to the board, Kissy Missy. But what no one ever anticipated was that the real danger didn't come from individual experiments. It came from something much worse: the prototype. It was no longer just an experiment. It had developed absolute influence over the others, and its plan was about to unfold. August 8, 1995. The most tragic event in the company's history occurred: the hour of joy. At 10:45 a.m., Kissy Missy was being transported by train to the daycare. However, just 15 minutes later, at 11 a.m., the prototype led a rebellion of experiments inside the factory, slaughtering almost all the employees present. The bodies of the victims were dragged into the depths of the factory and used as food for the living toys. Only a handful of employees survived, including one worker who didn't show up for their shift that day. After this tragedy, Playtime Co. shut its doors and was abandoned. But the nightmare inside the factory was far from over. 2005. The only employee who had been absent on the day of the massacre received a disturbing VHS tape. It contained a distorted commercial for Poppy Playtime, along with a letter in shaky handwriting claiming that the missing workers were still trapped inside the factory. Driven by the need for answers, this former employee decided to return to Playtime Co. In Chapter 1, A Tight Squeeze, he entered the factory and accidentally awakened Huggy Wuggy. And this is how we arrived to the events of Chapter 1. Let me know in the comments what do you think about this terrifying story.